Hello everybody, I first want to apologize about the little break that I've had from YouTube. As you can see, there are some boxes behind me and I have moved to Miami. It's really great here. If you have the means, I highly recommend it. Today I just wanted to address some things that I still see, basically just regarding pricing. So people always ask me, what do you charge for 3D renders? And I have another video where I literally just go over what I've charged in the past for different projects in depth. But today I kind of want to just run through my exact kind of what goes into my pricing. So I want to split this pricing thing into two sections. So there's the factors that are on your client side, and then there's the factors that are on your side. First thing being, many clients simply don't have high budgets. So if you're, for example, trying to do some 3D work for a high schooler's clothing brand, you can understand why maybe they wouldn't want to pay more than $30 or $50 because they're broke. It's just not the kind of client you want to work with. Now, if you're going into clothing and you want some paid work on your portfolio, that's a good way to go. And I would kind of take what you can get at the very beginning. But many starter clients are just going to be very inexperienced, kind of unprofessional, probably ask you for way more revisions than you're comfortable giving. And as I've said in many other videos, at the beginning, I mean, this is truly the process that weans out the people who make it and the people who don't. It's your ability to get through that painful, tedious beginning phase. So the other elephant in the room here regarding pricing is where your client is from. I feel like this isn't talked about too much, but it should just be known that, like, if you're working with a company, say in Poland or something, where the currency in that country is weaker than the US dollar or wherever you are, naturally the money is going to mean more to them than it does to somebody else in a different country. So when you're deciding what you want to charge a client, you need to figure out where they are. And then from there, you can peruse their Instagram account and see, what kind of engagement they're getting, how professional is their feed. Is this like a big established company that's kind of invested into several different avenues? Or is this like I said, a starter clothing brand with 4 followers, or, like a supplement company that's white labeling or something? You need to basically do your best to do some research and evaluate like what stage your client is at. But from there, it's just a bit of a guessing game to see what you can charge them where it's worth it for you, but you're not like straight up exploiting them, or you're not charging them so high that they're not going to close. And once again, I want to mention, if you are outgrowing small clients and you have people asking you for $50, $100, $500 projects, it is totally okay to just say no to those people and move on. So some cues that I use to figure out the quality of a client is if they email me, usually a work-related email will have a domain connected. So it will be like a name at the company's domain.com. From there, generally, I just go on their website. If I have very little information to work with, I can go on their website, take a look around, see what their product is, see what their price point's like. You can see if they're on Amazon. And then, like I said, combined with the social media presence, you can get a decent idea of what you're working with here. Now, the next section of this video I want to talk about is related to you. So where are you from? And if you are publicly from a country where people know that the currency is a little bit less than the US dollar or wherever the client is, you may have a harder time charging for high prices, because quite frankly, a lot of people look for talent outside of the US because they know they can get it cheaper. This is the same reason why Amazon has hired hundreds of thousands of workers from India, because a lot of times American companies are going to be looking for high quality work from outside of the US because they know they can get it at a slight discount. Now, this isn't every time, but if you have in your bio that you're, from Eastern Europe or something like that, where people know that the currency is a little bit lower than it is in the US or the UK, that may affect the client's perceived value of you, whether you like it or not, unfortunately. And so my recommendation here, and I've said this in other videos, but there's almost no circumstance where I would recommend putting the country or city you're in your bio. I'm obviously a huge hypocrite of this because I just moved to Miami and I'm networking. But in most situations, I would say just leave the country out of it and try to get as close to closing a deal as possible without mentioning any of that. Now, the other major one is just how qualified you are. At the end of the day, your work needs to be at a pretty good level. And there are some situations where if your work is exceptionally good, like super, super top notch, you will grow organically on social media. People will just simply validate that your work is extremely good and you will grow from your work alone. But in most situations, and especially in my situation, the growth that the organic growth that I've found has been from having this personal brand on YouTube for one, but also from being pleasant to work with and having just a bunch of referrals. So at this point, I'm running almost entirely on inbound leads, which means people are reaching out to me. I'm no longer doing cold outreach, but that's something you kind of build up over time. And then once you get into that kind of higher paying circle, it's just a self-fulfilling kind of machine, if you know what I'm saying. Now, this next thing related to you has a little more to do with just confidence in general. So you don't need to be the most confident or charismatic person in the world to have success, but I would recommend, if you're not good at speaking at all, like really horrible, some basic things I would suggest to get better is just reading books out loud to yourself and getting comfortable talking. There's also little exercises you can do, like if you drive around anywhere, you can get in the car and don't let yourself stop talking for the entire drive. So if you're driving, say to the gym and you have a 20-minute drive, just talk the entire time, and then you kind of get into this space, and then from there it just comes down to your ability to seem confident and content with yourself on calls or in messages. And yes, this is a small factor when it comes to pricing, but I just wanted to mention it because when people write way too much in an email or a cold DM, it comes off as needy. And I know this is a word I use all the time, but it's very true and I see it all the time. And so it kind of comes down to just building this confidence up, and if you're able to seem like a trustworthy, confident person on a call, it's going to take you places. And I think I have another video that goes into this more in depth. If I can find it, I'll link it up here. Another thing I wanted to mention is that there is a ceiling of reasonability when it comes to pricing. And what I mean by that is even really large companies sometimes, unless you provide a really unique service, they're going to know when you're inflating your prices because they're big. So yes, there is a little bit of fluctuation there when you're working with a small company versus a big one. But if you're straight up quoting like $10,000 for a still render, it's like they know what you're doing, and you might ultimately lose a deal. My favorite saying regarding this is pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. And that basically just means if you disgustingly oversell, you're going to get left behind. Now, for a lot of clients, a high price point is actually a green flag. This is similar to getting a Facebook ad that says that the newest iPhone is on sale for $200. It's like, if you see that ad, you're going to immediately think to yourself, okay, something's wrong here. This is the same with doing design work. If you have a really strong portfolio and you're charging like nothing, I'm talking $50 for like an animation or something, you might actually turn off big clients. And I do want to remind you guys once again that I do actually have a video where I in detail just show the exact prices that I charge clients for my previous project. So if you're the kind of person that works best with examples, that is exactly where you should go after this. Now, this last principle is very important, and many of you may know this because I've talked about it a lot, but it needs to be said again because people always miss it. Some of the best advice I can give is to price higher, but aim to give more value. So say, for example, you're a 3D artist and a client needs a model made, say, of this can of Celsius. You can explain to them that the most tedious and challenging part of the entire project is essentially getting the can to look extremely realistic and getting the textures perfect and getting the model down exactly how it is. And then from there, you can basically do whatever you want with it. You just, move the camera around, maybe tweak the lighting a little bit, and then it's just like completely perfect. What I would recommend in most situations is to charge a little higher than you think is reasonable, but then offer more value in return. So that could look like baking a GLTF file. If you don't know what that is, go on modelviewer.dev. And I've talked about this one before, but it could mean 360-degree white background looping rotation videos. It could mean throwing in a few extra angles or like a little simple animation that involves the product. It's like, instead of lowering your price, just charge higher and then provide more value. And for basically whatever field of design you're in, you kind of know what that looks like. And then this last tip doesn't have as much to do about pricing as it does just building a strong foundation for whatever you're doing. But as a general rule of thumb, make guarantees and then over-deliver on them. So if you say you can get a project done in 2 weeks, get it done in 10 days, or throw in some kind of little bonus alongside the finished project that the client isn't expecting. I think one great example of this is when I was in Acne Studios in Japan, I bought this absurdly expensive scarf, and when I bought it, they brought us this nice bottled water and some little chocolates. And I think the lesson in there is that just giving a little bonus when somebody pays a premium for a premium service is a great way to make the customer feel like they got their money's worth and then some. I did a project for a client about 1.5 years ago for $1,500, and that client has led to over $7,000 in referrals, just him telling his friends because working with me was such a good experience. So in summary, don't feel scared to charge a premium, just make sure it's worth it. Now, if you guys have any questions about pricing or anything else, feel free to join my Discord server. We talk about business and art and all things related to 3D, and we're even slowly branching out into other mediums of art. Anyways, I'm Renderer. I make videos about making money with 3D, but also kind of just design in general. If you guys got anything helpful out of this video, please like it and drop me a comment, and I will see you guys in the next one. See ya.